Okay, Gene, I started the recording, so go ahead.
Okay, welcome everyone to the continuation of our bi-monthly CA Workload Automation Tech Talk series. I'm Jean Rissmiller, Product Marketing for CA Workload Automation. Today we have Gregg Rask with us to talk about how to use the CA Workload Automation Agent logging facility for more effective troubleshooting. A little housekeeping before we get started. You can get a copy of the slides for today's presentation on the Workload Automation user community site shortly after this webcast. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A button on your screen. We'll address questions at the end. Okay, Gregg, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jean. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes, actually 28 minutes, talking about AFM messaging, log file information, spool files, so we can reduce the time to resolution as it relates to resolving negative events that occur within our environments. So that being said, where we are at and kind of the situation that we are placed in quite often is that there's many, as you see on the slide, moving parts within our workload environments. Those include infrastructure, applications, processes, services, databases, a number of items. So when negative events do occur within the processing periods, we need to resolve those negative events very efficiently, very quickly to ensure that our business processes and our business runs smoothly and predictably. So, as I mentioned, we're going to share a host of information on how to leverage log files and spool file information to resolve those negative events. So what we're going to do here, we are going to define agents and plugins. We're going to look at some agent parm.txt file settings for the log and spool file information. We want to definitely let you know where the log and spool files reside within your directory structure, and we'll look at some log file examples. We'll show you log files as well as spool files, and then we'll talk about some additional resources that are available to you out on our DocOps site. So what is an agent? An agent, as we may know, I just wanted to level set here. An agent will reside on our operating systems, your Unix, your Linux, your Windows systems. We have agents for i5, and they provide specific functions. So your manager will send the information to the agent. The agent runs the jobs and then reports back to your manager. Now, the plugin sits on top of your agent to provide additional functionality. So there are plugins for databases, as you see on the slide. There are web services plugins. There's plugins for Informatica, SAP, PeopleSoft, SQL Server. We also have a remote execution plugin. So remember, the agent provides the base functionality. The plugin sits on top of that base agent to extend the functionality of that base agent. Now, the agents and the managers and the agents communicate via AFM messages. Those AFM messages include a whole host of details to provide insight into the messaging as it relates to the communication between the manager and the agent. So AFM messages are extremely important because those AFM messages are what you're going to be looking for throughout the troubleshooting process to ensure that the information that you're expecting from the manager to the agent actually does exist, and it's valid and it's accurate. Now, what does an AFM message look like? So in today's Tech Talk, we are going to cover both AE and DE, both AutoSys and D-Series. So what you see on the slide here is an AFM message from AE. So you have as you may recognize from the previous slide, you have date and time information, you have manager information. The job ID is very important because each unique run of a job has a unique job ID. And then you'll see here on the top portion of this slide, you have also the additional information, which is actually what is being passed from the manager to the agent. On the bottom half of this slide, you will see what the agent will pass back from an AFM back to the manager. So once again, you have the date and time. You want to make sure that the manager that you're passing, that the agent is passing the AFM to is valid. You want to ensure that the job IDs match. So the AFM message is core and very key to the troubleshooting process. Now, what you're going to see on the next slide is from DE, and the actual AFM messaging is similar. However, there's some nuances to the AFM messaging based on the DE manager. So precisely what I want to talk about is the job name in the upper half. In the upper half of this slide, you'll see to the towards the right upper half of this slide, you'll see the job name. But because of the fact that DE has an application and generation constructs, it has those constructs, you will see that the application and the generation are in the AFM message. And then as with DE, you'll get the additional information. You'll get exactly what is being passed from the manager to the agent, and then you'll also see what the agent is passing back to the manager. So remember, the AFM messaging is key. You're going to want to really pinpoint that AFM message to ensure its accuracy. Now, when the agent starts up within the agent PARM file, there are a list of plugins. Now, the base plugins are what you see in the brackets. So you have the runner down through the file browser. Now, this particular agent that I took this information from has a number of other plugins that are deployed on it. So you'll see that the native FTP functions are also enabled, as are the SNMP functions, all the way down through the database plugin. So realize that within the agentparm.txt file, these plugins need to be sequentially ordered numerically. So if you, as an example, add a database agent or a database plugin on top of your base agent, you're going to want to make sure that the plugin list is numerically ordered correctly. Otherwise, the agent won't function correctly. So the reason that we have this information on here is all of the plugins, they actually keep a unique log file. So you will see a unique log file for your database plugin. You'll see a unique log file for SNMP and FTP and all of your web services should you decide to install those on an agent machine. Now, in order to manage the log files within the agentparm.txt file, what you see in front of you are the settings for log files. So in the bottom, we're going to concentrate really on the bottom half of this slide. The default log level is 5. And the archive, whether or not you want to archive the log files or not, is also controlled within the agentparm.txt file. The default equals 1 or yes. If you want to turn off archiving, just simply set the log.archive setting to 0. And then we also have a log.max size setting, which controls the actual size of the log files before they are archived. Now, as I mentioned, the default setting for the log level parameter is 5. However, there are other settings. 0, 1, and 2 simply trim off some of the information, but it also creates logs for errors, and we'll dig into the receiver and the transmitter log files in just a little bit here. Now, the 3 setting actually ignores that log.max size parameter. However, if you require additional log information, what I would suggest is setting log level the log.level parameter to 8. However, 6 and 7 are also available to you, and it just provides more verbose tracing to help you out and to help diagnose the problem. Just as I mentioned, it creates more information. Realize that 6, 7, or 8 is a temporary setting for troubleshooting, and if you do modify any of the agent parm.txt file settings, the agent does require a restart in order to pick up those settings. Realize that 8, once again, 6, 7, or 8, they should be temporary settings. You're going to want to set it back to 5 or another value after the problem is resolved. Now, where do these log files exist? Where do the spool files exist? AE and DE, once again, there's a little nuance, but you will see that the log files exist in the default location, which is opca, and then the actual agent directory /log. What you see in front of you is a Unix environment. However, if you have Windows, it's going to be in C program files, etc. And then the spool files are in the agent directory /spool, and then you'll have your manager address. For AE will be your autoserve value /main/WAAE, etc. Now DE, because of the fact that it has applications and generations, the log file location is the same. However, the spool file location is a little bit different. You'll recognize that at the end of the directory structure will be the actual application name dot the generation number. So just some things to keep in mind. Those are the locations. We're going to talk about ODB files here in just a little bit, and we'll talk about where those reside as well. Now, which log files are most helpful during the troubleshooting process? One of the files that is very helpful is the runner OS component.log. That provides all of your agent startup information. It will provide all of the agent error messages as well. It will provide information for you if the agent does not start, and it also contains shutdown information and error messaging when agents shut down. You'll see that all of the log files are date and time stamped. This one came from an agent that I was using as part of the preparation for this tech talk, and it's date and time stamped on May 2nd. So you'll see that you'll get a whole bunch of information on the agent itself. The next file that is very helpful is the receiver log file. So it's all of the information and the AFM messaging received from the agent that is sent to it from the manager. So if you look, if we look at this log file specifically, we see down at May 2nd at 18:32 and 48, that is the AFM message that came over. So if the AFM message is incorrect, that is, when we talked about the AFM messaging and we showed you the AFM messages themselves, this is what is being passed, and this is why that's important. That's why we covered the AFM construct, the actual structure of the AFM message. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look for Java exception errors. Now, that is the receiver log is from received by the agent from the manager. Now, the log file that you're going to use to troubleshoot if the agent received it correctly is the transmitter.log. So this is everything that's going from the agent to the manager. You'll see, recognize the agent build information, but once again, you're going to want to look at those AFM messages. You're going to want to look for Java exception errors. You'll see them. They are unbelievably difficult to miss. So the runner OS log file, the receiver log file, the transmitter log file, And then there is also a default log underscore agent log file, which contains all of the startup information and logging information for that agent. Really important. If the agent doesn't start correctly, you'll identify that here in this log file. Now, the next log file that we're going to talk about is the agent properties.log file. And the agent properties.log file contains the agent's environment, the environment that is passed to the agent when the job is running. I should say prior to the job running. And that's important because if the environment, if the agent's environment is not accurate as it relates to the job that you are sending to that agent, you'll be able to very easily recognize it in this file. And if you have plugins, database plugin, advanced integration for Hadoop, the application and web services plugins or agents, you will see that you'll get to see the environment and if it's set correctly as the job is going to run. Now, the other files that you will use, let me take a step back. Remember, all of the plugins have a unique log file. So if you have the database, we're not going to cover every single log file here in 30 minutes, but realize that if there is a database plugin or a database job that is failing, you will use the database log file. If you are running the advanced integration for Hadoop, you will use that AI log file. Now, other files that you'll recognize within your directory structure are the ODB files. And those are used, as you see on the slide, for insight into those other plugins that you're running. Now, the database log file directory is just, once again, a little nuanced. It's not in the /spool, it's not in the /log, it's in the /database directory. So those ODB files are persistent. So you will get to see the entire life cycle of that. In this example here, you'll get to see the entire life cycle of that database plugin in that .odb file. Definitely take a look at those if you're having issues with a database plugin, if you're having an issue with a web services plugin, and the jobs that you're running as it relates to that particular plugin. Now, spool files, along with the log files, along with the ODB files, you also have spool information. Spool information comes directly from the job when it runs. Now, within AutoSys, if you're using the WCC and you double-click on a unit of work and you scroll to the bottom, you look at the job runs information, that's where your standard out will be kept, that's where the standard error will be kept, and that's where the agent log file itself will be kept. So all you have to do is select the specific run that you are looking for. The run information will be the actual run, the job ID will be within the quick view dialogues. You'll be able to quickly identify that if you want to go out to your go directly out to the machine and look at that. Look at the spool information. You can do that. However, it's easily accessible via the WCC. Within DE, all you have to do very simply is right-click the unit of work that you are concerned about and select the retrieve spool file function, as you see here within this little mini screenshot that we have. So you can get the spool information either directly on the machine, or you can access it via one of the user interfaces. Obviously, the user interface will be dependent on the solution that you're using. Now, as with log files, you can also manage the retention of the spool information. And there is a best practice. You should, we do definitely recommend that you automatically clean the spool information, and the spool file cleanup retention is as you see here. There are 3 settings. The first one is whether or not you are going to enable it. It's a true or false, and that is runner plugin spool clean enable. The second one is how long you are going to retain the spool files. Excuse me. In this example, you see 10 days. And then the last setting within the agent parm.txt file is the runner spool sleep, and that just simply maintains, well, I should say it defines how often you are going to be cleaning spool file. So for all of you AE fans out there, similar to DB main, if you know what DB main is, like log files, you can automatically, set retention levels. Now, if there is definitely out there on our DocOps site, there's additional information for you and additional resources. So there are 4 links to the information that we covered during this tech talk. So you'll see information on agent logs. You'll see information on log file maintenance, maintaining spool files, as well as additional information on AFM messaging. A few last items. Remember, CA World this year is November 14th through the 18th. As last year, very similar dates. It's at the Mandalay Bay Resort Casino in Las Vegas. And then if you want to request specific topics, you can absolutely do that through the link that you see on this slide.
Thanks, Greg.
If you need more information, go out to ca.com/WLA. We'll take this opportunity for questions. Who has the first question?
Yeah, as a reminder, I'd like to let you know that questions can be entered through the Q&A panel on your screen. I think that we have one that came in. I don't know if you can see that, Greg. Otherwise, I can read it.
Please do.
Okay. If you install an agent and you specify 2 AE production servers, does that prevent AE from a DR site from starting a job on the agent, even though the AE-DR server is not defined during the installation agent?
Okay, so the question is, if you have an agent and it is defined to run workload on 2 separate AE managers, how does that work as it relates to DR? So what you'll see when the first time that an agent starts up and communicates with a manager, that is when the manager's information is actually populated to the agent parm.txt file. So as long as that DR manager is up at some time and provides the ability to create the communication between the agent and the manager, the agent parm.txt file will be updated appropriately. So I'm not sure who asked that question, but if you'd like to, please let us know if that answers your question.
The next question came in was on the recording. Just so you know, the recording for today's webcast as well as the slides will be posted on the Workload Automation user community. The next question is, I wonder what it is, whoops, things are coming in here. I wonder what it is, I'm sorry, scrolling here. I wonder what it is to, now I wonder what it is that is run to clean up those spool files, and how is it being scheduled to run, like, for example, every 24 hours?
Mm-hmm. So the question is, what is run to clean up the log file information, and what is run to clean up the spool file information? That's all internal to the agent. So the agent, if you think about the agent parm.txt file, the agent parm.txt file, its sole purpose in life is to control the agent and how the agent performs, what plugins it has, what log files it's going to archive, what spool files it's going to archive, what's the default shell. All of that is internal to the agent itself. As long as you set the agent parm.txt file settings to your liking, the agent will take care of everything on the back end.
Okay. Is there additional help on triaging the stack traces, especially in the transmitter.log, or examples of types of errors and resolutions on the CA site?
I will have to look out on the CA site. Now, for stack tracing, you're going to get, when you set the log level parameter to 8, you're going to get a ton of information. So a lot of times, really what we recommend is set the log level to 8 when you are engaged with support. However, the actual trace information, let me look out on our site. What I'll do is I will log into support, and I will run some searches on stack tracing, and that's what I would recommend if you have additional questions on stack tracing. There is a knowledge base that we keep out on the support site that you can search. So let me investigate that a little bit further.
Okay. Is there a silent install on the plugins, especially the PeopleSoft agent?
The silent plugins, the silent installs exist for the base agents today. We are looking into providing a silent install for the plugins themselves.
Okay. Is there?
And let me see where that is.
Oh, okay. The next question here, is there an architecture slide with interactions between the processes, like between the agents?
Yes, there is an architecture slide, and it's actually in the deck itself, but I hid the slide. What I will do is I will augment the deck that's going to go out on the community site with even more detail. The agent communication is approximately about 13 steps. So let me augment the presentation. We'll push that out to the community site, and I will provide an incredibly detailed architecture of the agent as well as the plugin communication as it relates to AFM messaging as well.
That's great. Next question, can I copy the agent parm file from another install during a new installation?
The agent parm.txt file can be copied, yes. You have to just realize that, though, there is encryption settings within the agent parm.txt file. Are you going to use a security key? What type of encryption are you going to use? So those items need to be taken into account if you are going to copy an agent parm.txt file.
Okay. Here's one. It's a little detailed. Can you not set log settings without recycling AGT via agent message?
Okay, so the way I interpret that question is, can we manipulate an agent parm.txt setting without having to restart the agent? If that is the question, the answer is no. However, we are looking into being able to provide that functionality. So being able to change an agent parm.txt file parameter and have the agent automatically pick up that new setting. Not available today, I would say. Once again, we're looking at it. The actual date of delivery on that is to be determined.
Okay. Here's someone that has an agent log showing an FW failed with 20003 exit code, but the file was present and the size of the file didn't change. Job ran again 20 minutes later, and given the same file, the FW ran successfully. No indication that the process was CANC.
Okay, so I don't have an answer to that question. What I would suggest is opening a ticket. You know, I appreciate you sharing that information. However, I'm not going to be able to troubleshoot that, you know, in the next, 5 minutes. So.
Yeah. And we have one last question quickly here. Usually the agent parm.txt is owned by the root. Is it okay to open the permission so that anyone can make changes to the agent parm.txt? Or is it a lot of trouble? Is it a lot of trouble to have to get?
Yeah. So when you install an agent, the agent does have to be installed as root. Now, depending on what you're trying to do, and in this specific question, it is changing the agent parm.txt file settings. Be careful. You know, you don't want to open up the ability for people to go in and change the behavior of your agent. If somebody goes in and is not learned on what the agent parm.txt file settings are, they can very easily blow up an agent. So I would suggest that if you are going to change agent parm settings, you do it very delicately, and you restrict the users that have the ability to change the agent parm.txt file. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would be unbelievably careful with who you open that up to.
Okay. We actually have quite a few more questions here. I guess we'll take a couple more minutes. These are supposed to be 30-minute quick-hit Tech Talk sessions, but this is a very popular topic. Another question here. Is agent.properties.log reloaded for every single job?
The agent properties, it is not. It's persistent.
Okay. Does a system installed agent on Windows require the allow log on locally right on the service account used for the script file execution?
Allow log on locally. I'm not sure. Let me find out exactly from a Windows perspective. I don't believe it does. It did in the past with with the legacy agents. Let me double check on allow log on locally.
Okay. And then one last question here. Do you have any information on the, I know I'm going to say this wrong, nohup.stderr?
I do, and what I will do is I will encase that in the presentation before it's uploaded to our community site. So NoHup is a common question.
Okay, great. And with that, I think we're going to end this. If there are any questions that were out here on the log, we'll try to get back with you through email. This has been a very popular topic, and I think this one merits someone going into the CA World site and requesting more information on this. We have extended our pre-conference education sessions. We'll have more than we had last year, so we're looking for topics for people to submit, and then also regular conference sessions as well. So go to ca.com/CAWorld and please enter what you'd like to see as topics. Additionally, if you'd like to be a speaker on any topic for workload automation, that's the same place to go in and request that. So we have about another month to accept topics for pre-con and for regular conference sessions. So we really urge you to do that as soon as possible so we can build out the best pre-con and sessions for you at CA World this year. So with that, I believe that we are out of time, and I appreciate everyone with asking all the questions and the time you took today. Again, the presentation and the recording will be posted on the CA Workload Automation user community site. Thanks again, and this ends our webcast.
Thanks, everyone.